Welcome to Millennium Fandom and the guy in the chair. I'm your host, Hal Rydberg. Next to me is
Cheyenne Wise.
I'm your other host, Richard Mathis from Dorkside Cookies.
And we're going to cover some of the newest and most fun stuff in pop culture, feature film, and feature film.
In other words, we're going to spoiler the heck out of you this entire podcast, but we'll warn you about each topic before we spoiler it.
I'm gonna get spoiled with you guys on some stuff. Don't worry about it. I understand.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we will be spoiling each other, I'm sure, on various.
actually, because I was only able to get through one of the 3 CW shows this week. Like, you guys are going to have to carry the hell out of me on that.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm sure that's good because I'm much more of a Marvel guy. So we're going to start off with this week's CW shows. I did get to see The Flash. I was considerably less than impressed with The Flash, but I've loved the last 2 seasons. I love all the characters, so I stuck it out to the end of the episode. Wasn't able to see Legends of Tomorrow because the CW app is difficult and stupid.
Fair.
But what was your guys' take on the Flash episode?
I actually didn't see the Flash one, so.
You didn't see The Flash, so
It's one of those shows that I'm like, I'm gonna get into, and then I just haven't. Like, I always say I'm gonna get more into the DC shows, but there's no Starfire yet, so I mean.
Yeah, if you weren't watching Arrow when they premiered Barry on that weird, like, over the break episode where you meet Barry before he comes to the Flash, even catching up to the Flash half a season in, it's not nearly as fun.
Plus, I can't help but see him as Sebastian from Glee. That doesn't help. I was a Gleek for a very long time. I'm shaved.
I'm still a Glee.
He was the jerk that threw rock salt into one of the other characters' faces.
I love that you're saying that like I have any idea what you're saying.
Somebody out there knows. Somebody knows.
I watch everything, so apparently that's.
I watched Glee for a very long time, and then it got really bad, and I had to bounce. So I didn't stay for the whole thing, but I was there long enough that I saw him throw rock salt into somebody's face.
When it gets that bad, I let it finish, and then I binge watch the whole thing in the course of like a day, just so I can tell myself that I finished it.
See, I just, it was too painful. It was like watching like one of your friends develop a drug habit or something, where you're just like, I can't be around this.
The worst part about it is that, like so many other shows, towards the end, it actually got good. And it was like, oh wait, they could actually continue. And I'm sure they thought, we could continue.
But no.
Yeah.
But no.
So this week's Flash episode felt forced to me.
Yeah.
Like it didn't really resonate like the other episodes in previous seasons have. Certainly not the first episode of the last 2 seasons, like the first episode of the first season. Like there's a lot of force-fed, this is the Flash and this is why he's fast. But this first episode of this season, like if you remember the last episode of last season, he steps into the Speed Force and he's gone.
Yeah.
Tough. And like all the CW shows, like they're gone for 6 months. So when you come back to the CW show, they're like, well, we've been just doing our own thing for 6 months. So like they're trying to make it like the TV show is just a portal into these folks' lives for X.
Yeah.
So the first episode, they're like, it's 10 minutes into the episode, and they're like, we should bring Barry back. And I'm like, this just doesn't feel right, because I feel like on day 2 of this 6 months break, you'd have been like, we need to bring Barry back.
If that was a thing that they were capable of.
Yeah, if you were capable of doing all of this in like the span of 2 days, why didn't this happen 5 months and 29 days ago?
But
fair.
To be fair, though, I feel exactly the same way, except for the fact that what they said was he'd been working on it this whole time, and this is the only reason they were willing to risk losing the entire city was because they were pushed into a situation that they were going to lose the whole city anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Even that feels contrived to walk in 6 months later and like the day that you come back 6 months later, we've decided we're going to bring Barry back. Like even an episode or 2 of like let Grant sit the bench for a little bit to give a little gravitas to bringing Barry back, but
Okay.
he's back in the show in the first 20 minutes.
So that's a good and bad thing about CW, though, because what CW has done is they've said with The Flash, they're not going to have Barry constantly, is he going to get with, what's her name?
Iris
West.
Is he going to get with Iris? Oh, no. Oh, he's, and they do it a little bit, but he's always into Iris. Iris is the love of his life. And so they're just not doing the normal thing of, hey, we're going to have 7 seasons of, are they going to get together or are they not going to get together? They don't do that. And similarly, other shows would have 3 episodes of Flash is gone.
Will he come back?
Will he come back?
I don't know. I get where you're coming from, and I totally understand. I totally get it. I don't know. This first episode, and of course I'll stick around for the entire season. I mean, honestly, The Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow are about the only really good, solid comic book television in existence.
You don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Supergirl, though.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
After season 1. Let's not
It
talk
took
about season
so
1.
long to get going, and now it just feels like it doesn't have a real course. Like they brought back and got rid of Ward so many times, and Daisy was Daisy, then she wasn't Daisy, and now she's got a boyfriend, and oh, he's dead. Like, it's even the characters they bring in, the great Marvel Ghost Rider. I was expecting to see more of Ghost Rider than
He's
half
amazing.
a season and gone. And what's his name? Not Cyborg.
No, not Cyborg.
I can't think of his name now. Deathlock. They had Deathlock on for like at the end of one season and part of another season, and then he just disappears. Like, they have access to all of these amazing characters because they're supposed to be the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And all of them feel like they're just one-shot wonders. Like, we'll show up for a couple episodes and then we're gone.
Them bringing in Madam Hydra, though, that actress is so good as Madam Hydra.
Unfortunately, she wasn't really Madam Hydra. It was all
By the end, she was.
It was all in a dream.
That was
And
brought,
she came out of it and
Can you tell I don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Sorry.
and we just spoiled
it's-
seasons worth of
honestly,
Agents.
If it's not Agent Carter, the Marvel shows don't do a lot for me. I mean, I like the Netflix shows.
Yeah.
But Agent Carter was the one of the TV ones that I was like, I'm on board for. Fun fact, when I was working in a lingerie store in LA, we did a lot of like 50s retro stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So they sourced all the stockings for the show from us and a bunch of the lingerie from us. And then she came into the store one day,
Oh,
and
my
I was
God.
by myself, and I'm trying not to have
Haley
like a heart
Atwell.
attack.
Oh,
and I'm just like, hi. She was super nice. Haley, if you're out there somewhere, I wasn't a clown when you came into the store, but you were really nice. Thank you. So off topic.
Yeah, I honestly, like the only Arrow and Flash, honestly, even Arrow has dropped off in the last couple seasons. It's really started to get harder and harder to watch. I had high hopes for Inhumans, and I feel like I want that 3 hours of my life back.
It could pick up. I'm trying to be. Yeah.
No. The intro looks like it's a high school video project. The acting, they've got some amazing actors in it, and
Absolutely.
all of the actors feel like they are doing a college drama course. It really all feels terrible. On the other hand, The Gifted is amazing.
Plus, we're getting a Titan
What
show.
world are we living in?
That's all I care about.
Where
Yeah.
a Fox
Starfire
thing-
is
Where a
black.
Fox show is, although if Fox is truly being Fox, by the time we get to episode 10 of this particular series, they'll cancel
You'll
it.
cancel it.
Yeah.
No,
Actually,
that's true. They always have good shows.
If
Yeah,
it's
they
good,
get great
go,
shows, and it'll get to episode 10, and they'll be like, we're not seeing the numbers we need to see. We need to see box office release numbers.
Gotham survived.
Cancel it. I can't really get behind Gotham. Like, Batman is one of my favorite
I
DC
tried to get into
characters, and I
Gotham.
can't.
So you
They're
didn't get
playing
into
with the
second
mythos
season?
so
No,
much.
no.
It gets good after second season.
Does it?
Because the first season, it's like this doesn't even have to be Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
But by second season, they start introducing all these characters that you're like, okay, this is like an origin story for all these villains. It's pretty good.
Selena didn't watch Bruce's parents die.
That was weird. I did like that actress. I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah,
here with this, and then
And I don't know who that dude was that they had that looked an awful lot like the Joker and talked like the Joker, because he was freaking amazing, but that's not the Joker's origin, and he's not the Joker, and that was just
They have no official origin for Joker.
weird.
I did.
That was just weird.
I actually did really like, I guess. I mean, I'm behind, but I do really like the actor who plays Oswald Cobblepot. I feel like
I really
he
like
was
him,
really
too.
good.
That's
I
a
was
real.
like,
he's
oh.
really
It's a
cool in
bold
real
choice
life,
to
too.
choose somebody that tall, though.
But he
because Cobblepot's supposed to be a
They always
short.
he
make him
just
look pretty short, though.
sold it.
He's supposed to be like a penguin.
He's
like,
Paul
supposed to be
Williams.
tiny. Well, yeah.
He's redefining the Penguin.
To this day,
Yeah.
I don't understand why they never cast Paul Williams to play the Penguin in anything live action. I still don't understand that. He's
Yeah, yeah.
He's tiny.
Back to the CW shows. Yeah, the Flash episode this season just.
What do you
to
think
start
about
it
them
off.
adding Razor? I don't even know how to pronounce his weird cybernetic alien name.
Oh, the guy at the end.
Yeah, Razor. It's
Is that
like,
who it was? Because I
yeah.
thought it might be Brainiac. Like
No.
it looked enough like just somebody's head plugged into a computer that.
His name is like RAI !! R or something like that, and that villain is a. He's been introduced a couple different ways, but primarily, and he's in Cyborg. He's a big villain in the Cyborg comics.
Okay.
But he's an alien. Well, now he's probably human, but originally he's an alien, and alien intelligence who ends up on Earth, but he's phase shifted, so he can't interact with us, and we can't interact with him. But then a speedster, I think the Flash probably, but maybe Kid
Pulls
Flash,
him out of phase.
interacts with him and allows him out, but doesn't realize it. And then now he's freed this alien who is stuck here. And ultimately, I think and I'm not a big Cyborg fan, but he ultimately gets
That might be fun to see Cyborg.
It would be super.
That's true.
If they did a
Although-
good job with him.
Although
that's my problem.
there's been some scraps back and forth with CW and WB about which characters and villains they're going to get to use in television. Like,
Yeah.
because there was such a hype over Grant Gustin maybe being the Flash in the movies, and then them choosing the villain from Fantastic Beasts, whoever that kid was.
Eddie Redmayne?
Yeah, no, the villain. I'm still not sold on him as the Flash. Like I'm really kind of attached to Grant Gustin. Like I really like him, and God help them if they're ever stupid enough to bring a Green Arrow into film, because
That's gonna be
I will
strange.
very likely not see the. No, Stephen Amell is my Arrow.
And
Always will be.
And so you can definitely see why WB would say, you know what, guys, you can't have anybody that we want to make money in the movies because our directors will not choose the fans' choice.
Yeah.
Their choice of directors will always choose other
Who's
actors.
It really makes me wonder. I know they took Deathstroke out of Arrow for a couple seasons because they were planning on using Deathstroke in the Batman movie, and now the Batman movie's in such turmoil. I'm curious if they're going to not use Deathstroke now that Deathstroke's
Well,
back
especially
in
now that the Titans are
Arrowverse.
going to be getting a show.
Yeah.
You can't do a Titans show without Deathstroke.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Well, you can.
I mean,
And you can throw in somebody in red and black. And
yeah.
Wait, show or movie?
The
Dude,
Titans
they're
are
getting
getting a show.
TV show.
You didn't see there was that whole big thing
Oh.
because they've
They've already chosen Nightwing.
Starfire's black and people are real mad, and I'm real happy. I'm just like yes. I mean,
hadn't heard
generally, as
that.
a rule, if it makes racists mad, then I'm going to be on board.
Still CW or somebody else?
I think initially it was TNT. I can't remember the channel it's going to be on now. I can't off the top of my head.
CW probably doesn't have
Literally,
a budget for more shows.
Probably. All I got told is Starfire was going to be in it, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'm happy.
Okay.
That's all I need.
That's cool.
And
really-
yeah, Nightwing's going to be in it.
They've already chosen the actor. I'm really curious to see what the suit looks like what the actor in the suit looks like.
Yeah, he's going to need to do some squats though.
Either of you looking forward to Black Lightning?
No, it's not tied to any of the CW shows. That really.
So I'm a huge Black Lightning fan as a
Yeah.
kid, but it irritates me that just like Supergirl, they're fractioning him off.
Yeah.
And
That's
sure,
fair.
eventually they may have a crossover episode.
I'd be willing to bet they. Yeah.
But just 'cause the fans
won't take
want it.
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they want to make viewer numbers, and
Yeah.
if Black Lightning starts to suffer in any way, the fastest way to jack up its viewer numbers is cross it over with everybody else.
That's true.
Honestly, the crossover week is one of my highlights of TV over the fall and spring,
Sure.
or fall, winter, spring TV schedule. Is like just one solid week of a great storyline. And honestly, they can do more in that than most studios can do in an actual feature film.
That's true.
They can spend 4 hours telling a story.
Yeah.
And
And have the space to really.
I mean, of course, unless you do it like you did last year's, where last year's was like 5 minutes on Supergirl.
Call out.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Like at the end, like, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to start the superhero week now. Just wasted an hour, but let's get going.
So,
Yeah.
did you see Supergirl?
I didn't see the new one, no.
I'm alone, guys.
I was off running around in the sewer, guys. What do you want from me? That actually is why I'm...
So, the villain on Flash, I know it's a little bit forced. I assume that they're just trying to get into their normal storyline. So if they have 23 episodes, 22 episodes, whatever, they spent one episode connecting to the previous season, and now they're free. They can just tell basically whatever storyline they want the other 22 episodes.
Okay.
It's almost like the second episode is
actually
the
the
real
first.
premiere of the season.
Yeah.
Because this is just like, yeah, we're fixing up what the writers did to us last season.
Well, I so want to Google this.
No.
The first Borg episode in Star Trek,
You mean where Q sends
Best
them?
of Both Worlds. The first.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That was one of as far as I can remember, and at 43, I feel like I can remember all of time and space. It feels like that was the first really big, like, hey, we're going to make you wait an entire summer to find out what happens. Picard comes on screen and says, I'm Locutus of Borg, and then, bah! And somebody somewhere in Hollywood decided that is the best way to make sure that you have returning audiences for the following season.
But CW doesn't really do that. Again, they're breaking
Don't
the
they?
mold.
Like they did it to Arrow.
But
They did it to Arrow the previous season too. Like, oh, Oliver went away and he's quit being Arrow.
That's fair.
They keep they over and over they keep doing that. Like the last thing you see is some big like, how are we going to solve this problem?
I mean,
and
in
then
fairness, it totally
make
works
you
on me.
yeah.
Like-
Although to be honest, I
Especially
don't
if you
think I
binge
would
the show.
not come back. Like I'm going to show up to watch Arrow or watch Oliver Queen stick arrows into people for an hour every week because it's fun.
I mean, that's totally fair, but it definitely, I mean, the CW show that I am the most caught up on, that I always watch, it's a comic book adaptation, so it's not that off topic, is iZombie. Me and my boyfriend love iZombie. We binge iZombie like there's no tomorrow. It always ends on some season-wide calamity.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's one thing when you're watching it on the CW. We watched it when they put the new season up on Netflix. It absolutely makes you go, oh God, how long do we have to wait? Makes you ready for when it comes back. 100%. Because you're like, what? Like,
How are they going to fix this?
Yeah,
Oliver quit being the Arrow. He's gone off with Felicity, and they're going to live happily ever after. However, will Star City
the
survive?
military people were zombies the
Isn't that
whole
horrible?
time.
The fans are like, please. I can't wait to find out how he's not going to live happily ever after.
Superheroes
No
aren't
group
allowed
of
to be
fans.
happy. You
No
know
group of
that.
fans wants your relationship to
What
fail
superhero
more.
has a healthy, happy relationship? Name me one.
Barry Allen.
I mean,
He's married through almost every comic book I've ever seen. Like
see, I would say Mr. and Mist is fantastic, but he's a douche, so.
Ends up being the villain in the most recent Marvel storylines.
Yeah.
Is he?
So, yeah.
He's just a
In Secret Wars, he's the
That doesn't shock me.
super spoiler maybe. Unexpected spoiler. Sorry guys.
So, I caught The Gifted and I caught the first 3 episodes of Inhumans. Really, really satisfied with The Gifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Vampire Bill, I can't think of the actor's name. Vampire Bill makes a great non-mutant dad with a couple of mutant kids. I love the fact that they pop in Blink.
Oh
Like
yeah,
Blink
Fan
that
Bing
you-
Bing.
Yeah, the except is it
Fan Bing Bing or is it a different actress?
It's not the one from the movie.
Okay, but it's not Fan Bing Bing.
It's the same character, like Blink from Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Days of Future Past. Blink in this particular story is just starting, like she's a runaway, and she's found by.
So then, is it in the same universe as
is
X-Men?
it
I mean, I guess it
Solaris?
must be.
Well,
But then
Yes,
they're not
yes, and
mutants?
no. Like the Logan movie. My favorite part about all of this is the Logan movie opens and mutants are gone.
Yeah.
This TV show opens and it feels like it's a couple years, maybe a decade before the Logan movie, because one of the main characters says early on in the the episode, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to wait for the Brotherhood or the X-Men? We don't know if any of them are alive anymore.
Well, I guess that would make
Okay.
sense because Fox doesn't have the TV rights to any mutant stuff, do they?
It's on a Fox television or on a
No,
Fox
I know,
channel.
but they don't
and
have the because like
They're-
I know for film they have the rights to the X-Men, the concept of mutants, and then any character that is a mutant. But then I think that their TV rights are different, so
Okay.
that might be why they're not the same. Like, because I know they wanted to do an X-Men live action show for a long time, and Marvel was like, "No, we have those rights. We're not going to give them to you."
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they did.
which is fair. I probably wouldn't have either.
So they could probably mention the X-Men without ever having an X-Men character, right?
Blink was an X-Men.
She was.
It feels like the main.
X-Men gets so confusing to me. There's
Well,
so many
everybody's
characters that are
been-
in the X-Men.
every
and not
mutant's
the
been an
X-Men.
X-Men at
Everyone's
one
been an
point or
X-Men
another.
for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm a
But
DC
the
girl,
the
so I'm
main
like,
the main character, the young
Starfire
man, the,
mutant?
the kid that looks so much like Oscar Isaac, he gets cut at one point and like bright lights coming out of him, and I can't tell if they're trying to do is it Solaris or if they're trying to do Sunspot or like who they're trying to do with him. I think they said his name, but
That's gonna be
I was
really
trying
interesting.
I was trying to binge through like 6 TV shows at once, so I got inundated with a whole bunch of comic book television, and
I'm
it's
sure
all
you
kind
had-
of
they're
oozing.
all-
It's all kind of oozing out of my ear. Inhumans, X-Men, blah 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 blah. I can't see what's his name from Inhumans, the human brother. I can't see him as anything.
but Ramsey Bolton.
No, I can't see him as anything but the kid from Misfits.
Oh, he was in Misfits. That's right.
He was probably one of my favorite heroes turned villains turned heroes in like superhero film. Like
Okay.
if you haven't seen The Misfits, it's an English television show, and just like most television, the English do it better the first time around. And that TV show was amazing. The 3rd season you could probably skip. Okay. I would probably watch $20 burning in an ashtray faster than I would watch the final season of Misfits. But the first 2 were just amazing. Like they everything tied together all the way back to the first episode. Like it all made sense, and none of it was like, oh my god, big cliffhangers. It was just like watching the next thing happen. And some of the superpowers in Misfits were freaking hysterical. A dude that could control milk.
Okay.
Somebody drank a glass of milk and he turned it to cheese inside them and then hardened it in their veins and stopped their heart. Like it was just like some
That's
of the
pretty hilarious.
the weirdest super. And he was bitter. Oh, he was so mad. He's like,
Well,
all I
yeah.
get to do is control milk. And then he killed somebody.
I mean,
But yeah, I can't see him. I can't take him seriously in this TV show because all I can see him as is that kid from Misfits. Even as Ramsey Bolton.
I was gonna say, we're
I was
assuming
like,
he's Ramsey
I'm
Bolton.
watching this and I'm just like, God, I'm wondering when you're gonna blink through time. Like, when are you gonna go back and make all this nonsense?
I mean, that would be an interesting.
Yeah, that'd be
development.
quite a twist in Game of Thrones. Anyway,
The start
I-
of the next season.
I feel like Inhumans. I mean, it had a lot going against it, right? It was because
it was gonna be a feature film.
Yeah.
And they knocked that down and turned it into a TV show.
But the comics, well, because the story's got to be spread out. Mm-hmm. It's a story that never sold very well in comic book form. The best things about the Inhumans now are the best things that were good in the comic books, which is just the dog. That's it.
I know a lot of people do like Medusa.
So I'm
I
gonna.
haven't
But
read enough
she's
of
expensive.
her to know why, but yeah, that's
Well,
true.
that's why they shaved her.
That's why they went,
shaved her
"Nope."
head in the first episode.
Done with that.
That was expensive.
But I know
little,
people do like her.
Yeah.
So
little known, and some of this is conjecture, some of this is like internet hype. But when they started doing negotiations for Spider-Man to get Spider-Man on board in the MCU, they wanted to talk to Fox about potentially getting the X-Men into the MCU as well, like some sort of agreement deal like they did with Spider-Man. And Fox just kind of dug its heels in, like, no, we're not going to do this. They're ours. And the director of Marvel Print was like, I want all the X-Men dead. Like, we are not making any more X-Men characters.
Same way they did with Fantastic Four.
Yeah. In fact, they pulled the Fantastic Four down out of the offices, I'm told. Like, there's not even banners.
Yeah, it's dead.
Fantastic Four is done.
That's
they did such a...
sad.
and that goes farther. But there's they're not making any more X-Men, and they're trying to push the Inhumans into the place of the X-Men. And you're not going to pull that off unless suddenly there's an Inhuman born with metal claws and a healing factor, and another one that can control minds. Like you're going to have to literally recreate the entire cast of the X-Men in
Professor
Inhumans.
Xavier, not Storm. Yeah, that's true.
You're never going to build that kind of hype for somebody that's sort of an afterthought.
But don't you think that the reason that Fox has not done very well with most of its recent X-Men movies, except Logan, because they were based off of previous storylines, just like in
Fox doesn't write new storylines.
But Logan is new.
Yeah,
That's true.
And it was great.
yeah. Old Man Logan, the comic book Old Man Logan, was a much darker, much bleaker story than like you watch Logan and you're bawling by the end of
that was
it,
pretty
and you're
bleak.
thinking, oh my God, this is bleak. Read Old Man Logan. Holy crap, is it bleak?
But he was still awesome the whole time. That's the thing. It was bleak. The ending.
Well,
but
that's just it. He never dies at the end of Old Man Logan because he's still Logan.
Yeah, he can still kill the Hulk family. He can still
Yeah.
he's super powerful, just like he always is for no reason.
He's just brah.
There's no reason for a guy with a bunch of knives this long is going to be able to cut off the heads of Sentinels or any of that nonsense. But
Yeah.
but
It's cool.
He's got plot armor just like Batman, right? So
Rule of cool.
Yeah.
That's a thing. It exists.
Mary
It's
Sue.
real.
He's got a Mary Sue belt.
A little bit. Now, if Marvel wants to get my money, what they need to do is I'm waiting. I'm going to say it until it happens. I want a She-Hulk show.
that's
Tell me that
happening.
would be
I don't.
amazing TV
I don't know
show.
that. I don't know how you
she's
would
gonna
sell
have a Netflix
that.
show.
Is she?
I think.
I don't know how you would sell that because during
So
the day
she's a superhero and a lawyer. Tell me that's not the coolest pitch for a show.
She's getting her own show.
Ally McBeal, but she
Daredevil.
can. Okay, but she's also an awesome, rad, liberated lady and not a whiny Catholic Irish guilt man.
Did we see a lot of Irish guilt stuff in Daredevil? I don't know.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. Every time he goes to church and sits down. I don't want to be doing this. Oh, but Maddie, you got to be doing this. I don't want to be doing
No, in the
this.
comic book, sure, but you don't see that in the show too much.
Oh no, he goes to the show. He goes to the church a couple times
Once a
in the
season.
show.
I feel like a lot of it's like implied and like
Foggy is the
symbolic.
best guilt tool in the history
Yeah.
of Daredevil. Like every time Foggy shows up, he makes Matt feel terrible because it's Matt.
At any rate, She-Hulk's on the list.
That makes me really happy. Because that is a show that I would watch because it would have to be
Well, they've
more
got
of
a-
like an action comedy tone.
They've got a
I
template.
would like.
I don't know that any of those shows are ever going to be action comedy.
No,
Netflix,
clearly. But I would like that for
The
She-Hulk.
Punisher looks like the most unbelievably raw, gruesome, bloody gun show that's ever been put on
I still
television.
haven't finished Jessica Jones for a reason. It's not because I didn't like it. It's because I would watch 2 episodes and go, okay, I have to curl up in a ball now.
But just to be fair, that Netflix,
I'll get through. But I can't.
Netflix's deal, right, is they just choose a topic, like a type of show, and they say we're going to make one season about that thing, right? So you look at Luke Cage and its blaxploitation or whatever that genre, 70s Harlem stuff. You look at
Luke Cage was so good.
Luke Cage and it's all like Hong Kong action stuff, and they even did their
you mean
stunts.
Iron Fist?
I mean Iron Fist. He even does like his stunts like the 70s, not like the new 90s action movie, but
With
like the 70s action
40
movies.
cuts to a fight scene.
Like, so if they chose a certain type of comedy thing, probably from the 80s, we might see some
Yeah.
She-Hulk would be the character to do
She-Hulk
that with.
comedy stuff.
Bonus, if you want to do sensational She-Hulk style, where she is aware that she's in a comic book, because she did that before Deadpool. She did, and it was wonderful. Read Sensational She-Hulk, everyone.
Never read a page.
I don't know if
It's
they.
really, really enjoyable.
I don't know if they can.
I read
fit her in
Iron
with the
Man
rest.
until Iron Man became Iron Girl, and then it was like, not that I don't like the idea of more female and people of color heroes, but I'm really not sure why you have to start taking away my heroes to add more heroes. Are we so out of creativity that we can't come up with new?
Well, there's actually, I was reading something. I'll have to see if I can find it again. I'll send it to you. Where a lot of people think that the theory for why they've been doing that is specifically so they can diversify the marquee name lineup for the movies when it comes time to recast people. Because you can't just cast somebody else than Chris Evans and be like, hey, this is Captain America now. People are not going to deal
They
with
did it
that.
with Rhodey.
I mean, yeah, but like in the films at this point,
Well,
like
what I think
the average fan is going to be like, no, right? And so that's
I
kind
can
of part
kind
of
of
the
get behind
reason.
that because as
And
far as
as
I'm
movies
concerned,
are
Mark
getting-
Ruffalo is not my Hulk.
Totally fair. And it's like as movies are getting more and more diverse, and as the country and the world is getting more diverse, and the film market is getting like China's getting so much more important and all this stuff, they're trying to basically set it up where when it's time for them to like when like Mark Ruffalo is like, hey, I have enough money, they can like get some K-pop kid that makes all the money in the world and then have him be Hulk. Like
Yeah.
that's the theory for why they've been doing that.
I'm guessing you're referring to Cho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they kind of broke. They broke Spider-Man because they took the Puerto Rican Spider-Man and took the best part of him and made it in the Spider-Man Homecoming.
I was salty about that, I'm not gonna lie. They did Miles kind of dirty.
Yeah, right. So then
While
when
simultaneously mentioning Miles
He was super weird.
in the movie, like yeah,
so when they try to do a diversified Spider-Man and have Miles, everybody's gonna say that they're stealing
They can't
Spider-Man's
have Gonke
storyline.
now. It's like, wait, that's
What is
it
this?
was kind of, and it's like
Yeah.
I totally feel it because I'm sure because they were going for such of a like this is a younger Spider-Man, like this is like a teenage Spider-Man, and really like in terms of the comics, because that's one of the few comics I read. I love Miles. Is like Miles was much more of that like dealing with being a young teen and being a superhero for longer than Peter Parker was. He was in college.
yeah.
much sooner.
Peter was in
Like he was
Peter was
older
mostly
teen.
in college and
Yeah. Like
all of Spider-Man.
so I totally
But-
get why they took some of those elements, but
And
I
they're
was
great.
still and I was still salty a little bit because Miles is wonderful and he deserves
Yeah.
all the nice things.
It's just a little unfair that eventually, when they do release a Miles,
Or they're gonna have
They're
to
not
do
going to be
something
able to
totally
use any of the
different with
original
them.
Miles content.
they have to make new
because all of the
Miles
original Miles content's already been used by Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although to be fair, just as salty as you are that they stole all the parts from Miles, I honestly I stopped reading Spider-Man comics when they killed him off in the Ultimates. I was like, there can't ever be another
you stopped
Spider-Man.
reading normal Spider-Man when they killed him in the Ultimates.
No, I was reading Ultimates, Spider-Man,
Yeah, I love
Ultimate
the Ultimates,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
And in fact, honestly, I can't think of any comic book title that once the Ultimates came out, I continued to read that wasn't Ultimates. Like
So much better.
Ultimates is just more realistic and more
I'm a DC
more
girl,
fun.
so
And when they killed off Spider-Man, I was like, you can stop my subscription.
that's
I'm done.
Totally
I don't need
fair.
to. I don't need to see a new Spider-Man. It would be like somebody picking up Robert Downey's suit.
totally fair. But if you get a chance to read Miles's original run, it's really good. It's really, really good. I love him.
Old dog, new trick.
Totally fair. Just saying, like it's one of those things. If they had switched him and then it had been like crappy, or like they had made him super like stereotypical and like talking and jive talking something, I would have been mad as hell. But I actually really liked him. Granted, I'm probably a little biased because he also looks exactly like my younger brother. So I literally like 90s. He's met him. He looks the same. I'm always like, no, God, it's like it's like, blah. But I thought it was a really good run. And then the series they did a limited run where Miles ends up in.
Oh, you mean Fractured Universe, or what is it?
It's like Spider-Man.
The Spider-Verse
Peter
or
ends
whatever?
up in the Ultimate Universe with Miles.
Yeah.
It was great. It like so good. So and like even the stuff they're doing with the cartoon now, where they all exist and they're all in the same universe and like it's chill. I'm super into.
What is it about Spider-Man that all the versions of Spider characters are all awesome? Spider-Gwen, like they're all
Spider-
amazing.
I
love-
Like
yeah.
I just
I
love
did
it
They
all.
have no
I
right to
did a
be as
group-
good as they are. That's true.
I did a group interview with Stan Lee here in Vegas in like, I want to say it was like 2010. It's when he got his star at the Palms.
Okay.
And they let like 10 or 12 of us essentially a round table where we could talk to Stan and ask Stan some questions. They gave us this ridiculous packet of crap we were not allowed to ask him that he's tired of answering. But one of the questions that I got to ask was, he's worked for both DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
And I asked him why the Marvel heroes feel so much more lifelike and so much more real. And his answer was that the DC characters, with the exception of Batman, all of them have power, but they don't have a tragedy that goes with their power. Like they're not a balanced scale. They're like Superman, who has all this power, and there's no reason that he should ever lose anything. And Wonder Woman, who's got all this power, and there's no reason that she should ever lose.
So
or
this
be
is Stan Lee's
sad.
perception.
He said when he made a character for Marvel, no matter whatever their power was, commiserately something terrible or bad had to happen to them.
Okay.
So there's actually a Superman amalgam in the Marvel Universe, Sentry.
Yep.
He's terrified to leave his own room. Like, he's one of the most powerful superheroes ever, can't leave his living room. Like, he's crushing, what is it, agoraphobia?
Yeah.
That's
Agoraphobia.
crushing agoraphobia so that the character feels more real. Peter can't keep anyone he loves alive, but he is the strongest character in Marvel. He's the only character to ever have punched out the Hulk. He and the Hulk got into a fight in downtown New York, and Peter Parker knocked out the Hulk.
Yeah.
He, according to Stan Lee, he's the strongest character in all of Marvel. But then again, he's a kid, pure heart. Terrible things constantly happen to him. He gets power commiserate to how terrible his life
Was
is.
that Cosmic Spider-Man? I mean, what the heck?
There's this really
Peter, every
interesting-
time he's wanted to do something, every time he's been in a place where,
it
like,
doesn't go well for him. That's true.
every time he's had to lift something or do something or build something, or all he has to do is just dig a little deeper, and Peter Parker can do it. Like, there's an intelligence scale, and Mr. Fantastic is on the top of it, and right below that is Chadwick Boseman.
Black Panther?
I can't think of his actual name.
T'Challa.
T'Challa,
yeah.
T'Challa's right below that, and Bruce Banner, and then Tony Stark. Like, in the top 10 is Peter Parker, and the kid is supposed to be in high school. Like, he's constantly, anytime he's needed to be smarter, he just thinks harder, and suddenly he's smart. He needs to lift something, he just, I've got to be Spider-Man, brah, and he picks it up. Or in the case of the Hulk, he gets hit by the Hulk, and brah, I've got to knock you out.
Yeah. There's this comic book critic
Cue the
online that I
Cool J
really
music.
like called Linkara. And he has this saying that I think is super apt about the difference between the big two. Is he says that DC heroes are heroes you can look up to, and Marvel heroes are heroes you can relate to. And I think that is definitely, at least in the approach they take.
Yeah.
Like, Starfire is 100% my, like, queen of the world. I literally have a shrine in my apartment. It's a little much. But it's like, because she is that person that I look up to, and I go, like, what would she do in this situation and stuff. Now, she's absolutely been written in ways where she can be super relatable. All the characters have been.
Yeah.
But you tend to think of them like that. You don't go, oh, I know how Batman would feel in this situation. You go, what would Batman do? Versus the way Peter Parker, you absolutely understand. Like, oh, he can't get a date. Like, oh, he's nerdy and awkward.
Drink like Tony Stark. I identify with him. Yes, I
Totally. I mean, my character like that isn't a Marvel character, but no one in the world reads Empowered but me. So, shout out to anybody who's watching or listening who reads Empowered. It's good.
So we're going to shift gears now to the second topic, Blade Runner 2049.
Which I still haven't seen.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to step out if you want.
It's cool.
We are about to spoiler the shit out of this.
Spoilers don't bother me. I'm fine.
Because I have so many feelings about this movie. I can't gush enough that I loved every second of that movie. And if you didn't love it, you are just wrong. You are bad, and you should feel bad.
Paul only feels slightly strong about this.
I don't feel strongly about too many things, but yes. It was, as far as visuals go, as good as, if not much better than the first one. Like, the color palette was perfectly chosen. There were a lot of really good nods. There was a lot of questions answered from the first one, and there were a lot of questions they did a great job of dodging around.
Okay.
Like, the question everybody went into that movie wanting to know is Rick Deckard a replicant? They never tell you.
Never tell you.
That's good, because that's part of the reason I didn't go see it. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that getting answered.
Oh, and it's still, like, there's parts and pieces of it that I feel like answer questions or... So, in the original Blade Runner, depending on which cut you saw...
True.
I've seen all four. and I loved every one of them, and I loved every one of them for a different reason. I watched the final cut pretty regularly, but every so often I'll go back and watch the very first one that everybody hates, because Blade Runner is a future noir movie.
Yeah.
So if you've ever watched a 1950s, 1960s detective noir movie, film noir, there's voiceover. Like the main character is telling you the story as you're watching the story. And I could sit and listen to Harrison Ford read the phone book. So no matter how much they hate the voiceover of the very first Blade Runner, I think a lot of the film, the original Blade Runner, gets lost when you're not hearing what he's thinking or why he's doing something. And there's a unicorn dream in, I want to say it's the director's cut. I want to say they cut it out of the final cut, because I watched the final cut a few times this month, and I don't remember seeing it in the final cut. He has a dream about a unicorn. And Edward James Olmos' character, I forget which officer he is in the first one, at the end of the movie folds an origami unicorn and leaves it outside Decker's house. Now, they talk a lot about dreams. Like the original book was called "To Android's Dream of Electric Sheep." Dreams are a big,
which is a great Easter
motif.
egg, because he makes a sheep.
Yeah. It's a big motif in the original movie, and Rick Decker dreaming of that unicorn, and then a fellow Blade Runner folding one to leave for Deckard, at least to me, really felt like we're both having the same dream. We're both thinking about the same things and having the same dream. We're both obviously replicants.
Yep.
But nobody ever says that. And then, and again, I will tell you, I am about to talk about Blade Runner 2049, so if you have not seen it, turn this camera off. I'm not in, spoilers. Edward James Olmos showing up in the next movie as an old man, like, they never really say he's a replicant or not a replicant, but it sort of feels like he's not.
Well, for him to be aged that long, because replicants only get to live a couple of years.
The
right?
opening scrawl, they say that after the Series 7, after the Nexus 7, they started making replicants with open-ended lifespans.
Okay.
And the Nexus 8, which was Rachel, had an open-ended lifespan.
Okay.
So she could potentially live as long until she died of natural causes or not natural causes.
Something really intense is happening over in the bar.
Yeah, we are filming at Fandom,
Yeah.
Millennium Fandom in downtown Las Vegas. And apparently they're watching something on the television.
Oh, I think... Is it the Star Wars trailer? No, I don't think so.
No,
I got real excited for a second. Later!
So, they kind of dance around it. Like, they show you some stuff that might say that he's not a replicant, and then they say some things that he might be a replicant. And it really felt like there's a couple scenes in the movie that leave you wondering, not so much if Officer K is a replicant, like that much is very clear.
Sure.
But it feels like correct me on this, Cherish, Villeneuve, the Millennium Fandom bar owner, is French, and he has corrected me over and over on this gentleman's name. It felt like the director could have left a couple pieces out to leave a little more ambiguity about Officer K, because there's a moment in the film where Officer K goes to look for, huge spoiler, when the film opens, they find the remains of a replicant. You figure out that it's Rachel before they actually say that it's Rachel. And Rachel died in childbirth. So as a replicant, they managed to finally unlock procreation in replicants. And they never say whether you have to have a human to replicate with, just that she was able to have a baby. And when Officer K goes looking for the baby, he finds records that show a male and a female baby with identical DNA.
Yep.
So I got to imagine that a computer would make two babies identically.
Makes
It could
sense.
potentially make two babies identically. Later in the movie, they flat out say that it was a girl, but they never go back and talk about like was the boy a false flag? Were there twins?
Is he wandering around somewhere else?
But they also make it like low profile, very clear that there was only one child. I feel like if Villeneuve had been a little more ambiguous about the matron, the nursemaid that Officer K met, and said just the female child rather than saying the only child or the girl or whatever. Like if they could have left that a little bit vague, just do the same thing they did in the first Blade Runner and leave you with as many questions as it answered.
So we're going really, really deep into the absolute spoiler of the movie. This isn't just like facts about the movie. The whole movie intentionally leads you one way and then flips the other way.
2/3 of the way into the movie. Like you feel like you're following along.
Now, were you fooled?
Yes and no. Like when he got to the point where he discovered the records, I felt like Kay was definitely Decker's son. Like he's definitely doing the same life Decker did.
Yes.
He's very much just a carbon copy of Rick Decker. And here's evidence that there was a guy or a boy.
Yep.
And then the girl died, according to the records, died shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
When they got to the point where they started talking about the girl, because I love Blade Runner so much, and there are so many ambiguities and false flags in the original Blade Runner. Like I wasn't ready to set that particular torch down. Mm-hmm. Like even at the very end, what happens to Officer K? Like I'm just like, do you really see it end for him? Like I can't say that I saw a body bag zip up. I don't know.
No. So he could have survived, definitely.
Yeah.
But I was fooled, but I trust nothing because I know what type of movie it is. So when they reveal the secret, so the secret is, this is the secret. So it's too late. We're down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
The secret is that the clues all lead to him believing that he is the biological son of at least one replicant, possibly two replicants. Mm-hmm. Definitely the villain of the movie, or at least the villain of the movie's owner, he believes Deckard is a replicant. That's his belief. Deckard doesn't agree. Deckard thinks his memories are real. That's what he says. Mm-hmm. But to me, at least, it
very much felt like he believed Deckard was a replicant.
Yes, the human
who owns the technology
thinks
they never make
Deckard
it
is a replicant.
solid.
But yeah, I mean, they never scan his eye or anything to prove one way or the other. Mm-hmm. So, the Officer K, he believes he has a soul, and the moment he believes he has a soul, suddenly he starts having emotions. He starts acting up.
He can't.
It changes his life.
Oh, side reference. One of my favorite subtle nods in the entire film. They still take the Voight comp, but now they've elevated so far that you take a Voight comp in a solitary room with the testing equipment in front of you, so there's nobody to shoot. Thank you, Leon.
Nice.
But he can't even establish a baseline. Like after he visits the woman that creates memories, and she says, "No, this is a real memory. This is not this is a thing that happened," and he finds the evidence that proves that it's a real memory. He's broken. He's broken from that moment on.
Yeah. Just his belief.
Yeah.
Just
fractured enough that it just. My girlfriend and I were reading articles the day after we saw the film, and it's amazing how much of that the environment that Villeneuve created for 2049 is influenced by Russian culture.
Okay.
Ooh.
Like the first film was very China, Asia influenced.
Yep.
He's eating yakisoba, sitting in an outdoor bar. The street language they speak is part Korean, part Chinese, and some
Dishes on the
English.
billboards.
Yeah.
It's German, Japanese, Korean.
Yeah.
And they do say Russian.
Do they?
They do say
Do
Russian.
they speak some Russian in it?
Because if you listen to Decker, he says that's street speak. It's a mishmash of, and then he lists like 5 languages.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know that you actually hear Russian, but he says.
In
Yeah.
the current movie, the book, what was the name of the book, Trish? The book that Agent K or Officer K has. She'll get it back to me. It's Fire or something. Is a Russian book, and the lines that he says inside the Voight Comp are lines from that book.
Yeah.
Pale Fire by Nabokov.
Nabokov, that's super Russian, yep.
And the girlfriend that he has, the song that plays every time she wants his attention or every time he opens her up is Peter and the Wolf.
It is, yeah. Which is
Which is another Russian, like it's just, the whole movie is just littered with Russian references. No Chinese references, like I'm sure there are some there, but there's not nearly the number that there are of just Russian references. Of course, and Vegas. Because Vegas.
What did you feel about, like, so in the original Blade Runner, it feels very, very neuromancer, cyberpunk, huge populations. The world is dense. It's like Tokyo. It's like being in Tokyo 100 years in the future, but of course it's LA.
It's spread to America.
When the movie first starts, everything's like barren, and then they slowly start introducing more lights, but it's like there's just a Coca-Cola sign, there's an Atari sign, there's just not as much population. It feels like everybody's dead or gone. I don't know.
So the tone that, because I read the book, back when there was only one version of Blade Runner, back when dinosaurs still roamed the earth, there was you read Philip K. Dick's book, and Deckard, one of the big things that he really wants to do is to own a real animal.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like when they go into Tyrell and he makes the reference about the owl, it's sort of a slow, quiet nod to the fact that almost all animals are dead.
Yep.
And it's a big deal that Deckard now has a dog. Like, is it real? And he's like, Deckard's like, I don't know, I've never asked him. Like, it's a big deal that animals.
And even like the bit about Ben going outside and the lead cod pieces. And
Yeah. So the tone I got when I started watching this movie is that it feels like the natural progression 40 years later. Like, it started wiping out animals, and now we're just down to things that can live in radiation. Like, it feels like there are almost no humans left.
Yeah.
So, and they're growing bugs inside, or grubs inside climate and clean, controlled Quonset huts. Like, that's how they're getting protein. The fact that he found that flower outside was enough to stop him, because growing things don't grow outside.
Yep.
And they made a reference about a tree, and the woman was like, I've never seen a tree, because almost everything is dead. So it really, like, when I started watching the movie, I wasn't surprised once they got done at Batista's house.
Okay.
It didn't really surprise me that there was so much barren space and barren land, and like everything was just kind of dying off. Like the whole goal was everybody to get off planet and live in a colony someplace else. Now,
this universe, it is supposed to be connected to the Aliens universe.
Yes, it is.
Right. So, I didn't really catch any references. I'm not a huge Aliens guy. I like Predator more than Aliens. But did you see anything that?
Let me just ask my aliens expert. What model was Bishop?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question.
Bishop was a Tyrell model.
Oh, was he?
Oh.
Yeah. And what's his face on the was it the Nostromo was the first ship, or or was Nostromo the second ship? No, Nostromo. Ash on the Nostromo, Bishop on the, I can't think of it, nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be safe. They were both Nexus models.
Okay.
And they make a reference, Bishop makes a reference to Ash being an older model. So it's, I'm guessing like 3 or 4 or 5 to get to the point where you are now.
Okay.
That's cool.
What I really want to see, what I really, really, really want to see, if you watch the beginning of Blade Runner and it talks about replicants and why replicants are not allowed on Earth anymore, because there was a replicant uprising on a colony world and they wiped out the population. Like, I want to see a movie about that. I want to see a bunch of angry replicants wiping out a human population. That sounds like so much fun.
Basically, it would be Cyberpunk Birth of a Nation.
Yep.
I'd watch that.
Yep.
I'd watch
Game
that
of
for sure.
Borgs. Yep, that's what I'm down for.
Sold.
But yeah,
So at the end of it, what do you think? Do you think Deckard is a replicant or not?
I've always thought Deckard was a replicant.
Yeah, me too.
I've always, like,
Makes more sense.
there's a flash scene in the original Blade Runner where you can catch the lighting effect in Deckard's eyes. Like, all of the replicants in the original Blade Runner have it's a specialized lighting effect. If you do it in the right kind of light, you don't get the red light that you get out of a pet's eyes. You can get like that shimmery gloss mirror. Like they do it to the owl.
Yeah.
And there's a second in the original film where it happens to Deckard. Okay, you don't put that kind of thing in as a director and not know whether he's a replicant or not.
Well, the director has publicly said that he is a he
Yeah.
does believe he's a replicant. He says he doesn't know. He believes he's a replicant.
Oh, come on. You put that reference in, you
But the actor believes.
Harrison Ford
Says no.
and Ridley Scott have gotten into a couple of very public arguments about what the disposition they feel on Rick Deckard.
I honestly like it being like, I purposely don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know, I like it like not knowing almost.
I like,
you know,
I like the twist of him being a replicant. Like,
totally fair.
he has no idea, and he spends his life hunting replicants. I mean, would you want to send a human after replicants? They're stronger and they're faster and they're smarter. Wouldn't the rational thing be to make a machine to go destroy that machine? Why send a human when he could easily be crushed? So,
Totally fair.
I really hope we see an extended edition where
I'm sure we will.
we see the prostitute put her hand on her stomach at the end because Kay has gotten her pregnant. Because Kay was in love when he had sex with her.
Yeah.
And if that triggers some chemical thing in replicants that allows them
to procreate.
Then that's what I want to see.
That's
so
a
you heard
nice
it here
twist.
first. If
That's a really nice twist.
yeah.
We can spend the last 10 talking.
Nerding out about Star Wars.
Nerding out just about that toy. We're not going to talk about anything else.
Well, but
Is that the cool, cute new toy that's going to sell $1 billion worth of merchandise, or is it the
new Jar Jar Binks?
Is this the new Jar Jar Binks? That's the important thing. Nothing else really matters compared to that little guy right there.
So Ryan Johnson initially threw a fit and said nobody should watch the trailer. There's too many plot points in the trailer. Nobody should watch the trailer. The following day, he came out and said, "Oh my God, I was wrong. Everyone should watch the trailer." Just like a Blade Runner twist, my mind is full of confusion because I feel like some attorney somewhere at Disney pulled Ryan aside and was like, "You're going to get on Twitter right now, and you're going to tell everybody to go watch that goddamn trailer. We paid you to make this, and now you're not going to tell them to not watch the trailer. Go tell them to watch the trailer."
Yeah.
totally.
So, but in the same breath, I really want to believe that Ryan watched it and was like, because directors, I don't think they don't have any hand in the cutting of the trailer.
Rarely.
So I'm
Not
hoping,
in a big one like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm hoping that Ryan saw it and he was like, "Yeah, this doesn't give away too much. Totally go watch it." I suspect quite the latter. I suspect that they ran it by him before they released it, which is why hours before he was like, "Don't watch it. No, don't do it."
I personally, I don't care with spoilers.
It's not like it's going to stop me from seeing the film and seeing it on screen. Like, yeah, so I've got all the pieces.
But that doesn't necessarily mean
It doesn't make the story for me.
No.
I
I mean, honestly, I was sold the minute that I saw that we were gonna get more Phasma. That's all I want.
Oh yeah.
I love her so much. I don't care if she's Lady Boba Fett. I don't care.
Right now she is exactly.
Right
Lady
now,
Boba
she's
Fett.
100% Lady Boba Fett. I cop to that, and it's,
Like,
my boyfriend gives
10
me crap because I give him
10
so much
words
crap
on screen
about
and
Boba
tossed.
Fett.
10 words on screen and tossed into a garbage chute,
I
and everybody
will
loves
say
her.
though, it's partially because she's Gwendolyn Christie. Like,
I mean, yeah.
she's Brienne of Tarth, but the book that they put out on Force Friday, they put out a book that's just like her backstory, super fascinating. And it's
Yeah?
like, I'm sure like very little of it will actually like end up in the film, but I'm so fascinated by her as a character, and she's shiny, and like literally I'm like, do I have time in 2 months to like put together some like silver corset cape thing for the premiere? But I don't know yet. But,
Well, actually,
but like, it looks like she's gonna get to actually fight
Thinking.
somebody, and it's gonna be dope, y'all.
she's gonna fight Finn,
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Yeah.
and if it's based on reality at all, Gwendolyn Christie's gonna.
She's gonna stomp him down, honestly, probably.
Yeah.
That's
But
what I'm expecting.
based on the trailer, I think that they put it all out of order, but it feels very much like this movie is going to be a nod to Empire and Return of the Jedi in the same film. Like
yeah.
spoilers. If you don't want to hear theory crafting, because that's what's about to happen. But it feels very much like, and my girlfriend and I are similar in our opinion, but just a little bit off. I really feel like the twist that I would love to see is that this becomes a redemption story. Because
Yeah.
backtrack just a
I know
second.
where you're going.
Backtrack just a second. The reason that the first trilogy and the second trilogy and this trilogy all have opening crawls, according to Kathleen Kennedy, is because these are Skywalker stories. These are about the Skywalker family. So Rey either has to be a Skywalker or these films aren't about her.
They're about Kylo.
Yeah.
What the trailer feels like is that Luke decides he doesn't want to train Rey because Rey's as powerful as Kylo was, and he f***ed up with Kylo. So, oh God, I can't do this with Rey.
this
So
again.
you've got to go away. So Rey goes to Snoke and asks Snoke to train her, and Kylo gets tossed to the side and decides that he's not going to take that. Like he's going to try to either steal Rey away from Snoke, or very much like Return of the Jedi, they're going to have to team up in the final movie to kill Snoke. And this is all going to be a redemption story for Kylo. Like there's a couple shots in the trailer. Like the first shot you see of Kylo flying his badass, almost Millennium Falcon, almost Darth Vader TIE
Yeah.
fighter. He takes a dive at Princess Leia's or General Leia's ship, and you see him hesitating to shoot her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it only stands to reason, at least to me, with what I know, that he's crushing his helmet because he couldn't kill his mom. Like he could kill his dad, but his dad helped him, and he can't bring himself
Well,
to
he
kill
killed
his
his
mom.
dad, and it didn't make him feel any better.
No.
It was supposed to make him feel heartless and be like
More
now
powerful.
More powerful.
Yeah, and now he can't do it to his mom, and he crushes the helmet.
Yeah.
So that battle feels like it happens very early in the film. And then we have the stuff with Luke. And if there isn't some sort of redemption in this for Luke, I'm going to go to J.J. Abrams' house and lawn.
Fair.
Luke really feels like through all of this, he's kind of in a Yoda place. Like I was having this discussion with my friend Melanie and Trisha and my friend Melanie's husband Chris, that when Luke shows up on Dagobah and he's like, I want to be trained to be a Jedi, and he's technically the second to last hope
Yeah.
to stop the terror in the universe. And Yoda keeps saying, no, I don't want to train him. The Force isn't like unlocked by being in proximity to a Jedi.
Yeah.
You have it. And they're like, Maz Kanata is a prime example. Like she can feel the Force and manipulate the Force, but she's never been trained. Somebody like Luke could potentially grow up to be a worse villain than Darth Vader. So why wouldn't it be your duty, like your obligation to train this kid to be a good guy? Like why would you fight so hard to train this kid unless you're terrified you're going to make another Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Only if you don't train him,
Then
you are
that's
almost
exactly
certainly
what's
going to
gonna
make a
happen.
Darth Vader. So now you've got that same problem with Luke. I've already made a Darth Vader. Do I want to try to train another one and potentially make another Darth Vader? You don't have a choice, my friend.
Well, but wait a minute though, because the planets are filled.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, filled, but they have an awful lot of like Force people, and in the books, depending on whether the books are considered real or not real.
Yeah. The extended
They
universe.
have, they have Force shamans and Force sorcerers that don't have the level of power that the Jedi are supposed to have had.
Mm-hmm.
And so wouldn't you rather just be like, you know what? You're going to be a villain either way. You're going to be a villain whether I train you or not train you. So I'd rather you be like a crappy untrained villain than a crappy
than a
real trained.
really trained villain.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
because Anakin was trained. And they
That's
knew not to train him.
Yoda said not to train him either. That's true.
So how many times does he keep making the same mistake? Because he's just like, okay, you guys convinced me again. Damn it.
Sure, one last one.
I'm really surprised. One of the big theories that was floating around before The Force Awakens was that Yoda said to Luke before he left Dagobah, if you start to fall to the dark side forever, if you go and do this, if you quit your training now and go and do this, you will fall to the dark side. It will slowly take over your life. And yet Yoda was wrong. Like wrong.
Well, wait, but not in the original extended edition, which really built from that. He does go to the dark side.
Oh, Luke?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean in the extended universe?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But here we don't even know what happened to Luke. We just know that he went off to a
We
planet,
just know that he's off growing a beard.
and we know that
He's on Octu, the planet that has the first Jedi Temple, with these guys, which I found out today are food.
Oh no!
our food.
Yes, they are food. The caretakers, the population of Octu that Luke goes to stay with, there's a couple comic books and some art that goes with this stuff out, and the caretakers are hunting these guys to eat them.
That's why he's so sad.
That's why he has the perpetually terrified look on his face, because this is food.
Oh, that's sad.
Yep, that was a major spoiler right
Like-
there. Like I just ruined a toy for you.
I do like that. Even
Still
if
gonna
they
buy one.
definitely, even if they wiped out the extended universe,
Yeah.
I do like how they're handling the comics and books. They're saying, you know what, the previous stuff we kind of let authors kind of go wild and they
Yeah.
did whatever. But now you can read things and you can trust it because it's worked.
It's being metered.
With
It's
purpose.
very
It's being metered.
specifically-
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying a lot of the Star Wars books and stuff.
We just finished Princess Leia,
I loved Princess Leia.
and the fact that they wrote that just before this, like now I know the planet that they're going to. I'm really hoping that I see a dragon, because I mean they made such a big deal about it, and
Pretty dope.
made a big deal about it in the first movie about the sound of a crate dragon and the planet that have you read? I don't think you've read it. So the planet that they're going to is a salt planet. The red underneath it is some sort of crystal.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a white-ish, like salt barren planet.
Yep.
The planet's name is Crate,
Okay.
as
So
in
this
like
is-
crate dragons.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that we see a dragon
We're
in this.
getting a wave over there.
The production team tells me we're at 1 hour. We'll wrap up here pretty directly with the end of all this. But yeah, to wrap up about the trailer at least, it feels like they moved all of the parts and pieces in the trailer around to kind of give you some cool imagery, but the story for the movie is
Definitely
entirely
doesn't
all
feel
there.
like the Batman v Superman trailer where you were like, well, now I've seen the movie.
Yeah,
You
like
definitely
the
like,
the big
bits and
Doomsday
pieces.
reveal at the end of the Batman v Superman
Wonder
trailer
Woman-
was kind
and
of
Wonder Woman showing up, and you're
pointless.
just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still want to go see that. I wasn't happy about the whole
I
thing.
wish I
but
hadn't gone and seen that.
The worst is I went to go see that movie with my younger brother who had already seen it. His entertainment was watching me have an aneurysm, which made it worse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But it feels like all the parts of the movie are in that trailer. And I was really hoping, especially now that they've announced that J.J. Screw Up My Childhood Abrams has come back to do the third movie, that the second movie would hold sort of an Empire Strikes Back place in this trilogy and be the best of the trilogy. If they're really nodding to Empire and Return of the Jedi in this movie, I still hold some hope. I'm confident that I'm not going to get a beat for beat recreate like JJ Can't Write a Movie did with The Force Awakens. So,
Shots fired.
I hate that guy. He's ruined every movie from my childhood he's touched. By the way, Star
could be
Trek
worse.
Beyond is the best of all three of those movies. I don't care what anyone says.
Totally fair. Here's the thing, it could be worse. You could be a Gem and the Holograms fan like me.
Oh God.
So take comfort.
My life flashed before my eyes.
I went to go see that in the theater, so
The fan film that folks in LA made was a better film than the
the IDW comics are really good right now though. But my point is, it could be so much worse. Your nostalgic properties could be girl nostalgic properties.
Yeah.
They get treated so much worse.
Yeah, wow.
Anyway.
Let JJ do them.
No, God.
So that's been the guy in the chair. I'd like to say that's me, but it's really not. I'm much more of a Tony Stark guy. I've been Hal Rydberg. With me has been
Cheyenne Jazzwise.
And Richard Mathis.
and I'm out.
Bye. See you in your dreams.
Yeah.